A woman is in the hospital after being pulled from her home, which was up in flames. We'll have a first-hand account of that rescue.
And an argument inside a Whataburger led to gunshots. How the overnight meal nearly turned deadly. Plus, a retired Marine with a mission of giving back to those who need it. How the community isn't letting his mission go unfinished even after his mobile barbershop was stolen. That's tonight on the Nightbeat.
Live from KSAT 12. The Nightbeat starts right now.
But first, fire investigators in Schertz are trying to answer one big question. How did this happen? Neighbors say there was an explosion just before this home went up in flames. All of this while a woman was trapped inside. It happened on Mitchell Avenue, not far from Schertz Parkway and FM 78. Katrina Weber spoke to one person who jumped into action to save a neighbor.
This is a case where ordinary people did an extraordinary thing, running toward the danger here to help a neighbor out of it. Now, they tell me that the woman who was rescued from this home is in the hospital, possibly facing a long recovery. There are boards now where a door and windows on the Schertz home used to be. They hide damage done by a fiery explosion Friday morning that had people along Mitchell Avenue scrambling toward it.
I originally thought it was an airplane. You know, whoosh, and then an explosion.
The loud noise had Stephen White puzzled until he saw flames and smoke down the street, even though the 84-year-old has trouble walking.
I don't know how I got down there so quick, but I did.
He says he ran to his neighbor's home to try to help.
Because the whole front of the house had blown off, and I was moving the window frames and the glass and stuff so we could get her down out of the house.
White says two other neighbors brought the woman burned and bloodied out of harm's way. Then others stayed with her until EMS arrived.
And one of the guys was taking a water hose to go back in, and I grabbed him by the belt. I said, "No way, Jose, you're not going in that house."
Fire crews eventually put out the fire, but not before it caused extensive damage. Investigators don't know yet how it started. The damage from this fire was contained just to this property, but the impact of it was felt throughout this neighborhood and beyond. White says he has friends who could see the smoke all the way in Cibolo, and the explosion rattled this whole block.
It kind of rattled me and knocked some of the canned goods off of my shelf in the pantry.
But his concern now is for his neighbor rescued, and he hopes on her way to recovery. I did talk to firefighters today, but they were not able to give me an official update on the woman's condition. It is clear, though, that people in this neighborhood are concerned about her. In fact, perfect strangers have been driving past here throughout the day, and some of them stopping to ask me if I knew how she was doing. Reporting from Schertz, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
A man accused of killing another outside of a West Side business was arrested last night. This is 40-year-old Richardo Heyman. According to an arrest affidavit, Heyman got into an argument with another man at a gas station Thursday night along Old Highway 90 in South Acme Road. That man, Ricardo Contreras, was dating Heyman's ex-girlfriend. The woman tried to separate the two, but that's when Heyman pulled out a gun and shot Contreras multiple times. Contreras was found dead at the scene by police. Heyman was booked into the Bexar County Jail for murder early this morning. Meanwhile, San Antonio police say an argument at a Whataburger early this morning led to gunfire. This happened around 2:30 along I-35 near Division Avenue on the south side. SAPD tell us two men got into an argument with a security guard after being told to leave the restaurant. That's when one of them pulled a gun and shot at the guard but missed. The guard returned fire and hit the said initial shooter multiple times. Police found the injured man and arrested him for assault. A man accused of causing a hit-and-run crash with a motorcyclist has been arrested. This is 33-year-old Kenneth Gleason. The crash happened yesterday around 5 p.m. According to San Antonio police, the motorcyclist was hit after a white Buick tried to move into the lane to get around slowed traffic. Police said the Buick sped away from the scene. Gleason is now charged with collision involving injury. And yesterday, opening arguments were heard in the trial for the three former San Antonio police officers who were said to have shot and killed a woman in 2023. Nathaniel Villalobos, Alfred Flores, and Elizal Alejandro are on trial for the death of Melissa Perez. In June of 2023, Perez was having a mental health crisis when the three officers arrived at her apartment complex. Reports say she was swinging a hammer at the officers as they tried to go into her apartment. The defense argued the officers' lives were at risk when Perez was swinging the hammer. But prosecutors argued that the officers didn't have a warrant to go into her home and didn't follow protocol, saying Perez had every right to protect herself.
None of those 15 officers thought that after 78 2 hours and 30 minutes No one thought about doing the constitutionally mandated thing of going to a neutral and detached magistrate and getting a warrant to breach Ms. Perez's home. It wasn't a consideration.
They did what they had to do to go home to their families. The same thing every officer does, and the same thing every officer promises. And at the end of this trial, you're going to see that all of that is true.
This case could set precedent on how officers here in San Antonio and other cities are trained. Villalobos is facing up to 20 years in prison, while Flores and Alejandro face up to life in prison if they're convicted. The trial resumes Monday morning. You can watch it live on KSAT Plus and KSAT.com. And taking a look at live cam, it was a nice Saturday. We're nearing Halloween, Shelby, but the real story here is the heat this far into October.
Yeah, JP, the heat can be really spooky for some folks, especially because they might want those traditional fall conditions where you're going out to the pumpkin patches or trick-or-treating, wanting and hoping for 50s and 70s, but sadly, that isn't going to happen anytime soon. But here's where we were at today. Temperatures today in San Antonio were sitting in the mornings in about 64 degrees, which was just a few degrees above our average, but our high was almost 10 degrees above our average temperature. And tomorrow is going to be another day similar to what we saw today, waking up at about 65 degrees, peak temperature at 91. Now, the only difference is we're still going to see a little bit of that cloud coverage in the afternoon, but what we're also watching is still above average temperatures for most of us across the United States, stretching from Texas to Florida all the way up into the UP of Michigan. But what we're watching is behind that. Some below average temperatures on the coast of California could make their way to San Antonio. I'll break down what you need to know for the rest of the weekend and the week ahead coming up in just a little bit.
I'll be looking forward to it. It's a new beginning that honors the past. Uvalde Legacy Elementary opened its doors for the first time yesterday. It was built in place of Robb Elementary, where 19 students and 2 teachers were tragically gunned down in 2022. The $60 million campus honors the shooting victims with tributes and memorials, including a tree with the names of each victim. Teachers will begin moving into their new classrooms next week, and students will start classes Monday, October 20th. Tonight, thousands of lanterns lit up the Rock La Cantera as part of Light the Night, and tonight supporting those with blood cancer and their families. A remembrance ceremony occurred at 6:30, followed by a lantern-filled walk. Each participant carries a colored lantern, white for survivors of blood cancer, red for supporters, and gold in memory of a lost one.
It gives me hope for, the community, for whether someone just got diagnosed or they lost a loved one, that they're not alone, that there's someone there to help them along the way.
Light the Night is put on by Blood Cancer United, an organization dedicated to helping blood cancer patients fight and win their battles. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn more about what they do on KSAT.com. Still ahead, it's not just a ramp, it's a road to the world for a man bound to a wheelchair. Devin Karp introduces us to the Texas Ramp Project and shows us how their work brings new life to those with limited mobility. And he's a retired Marine, but now the community's making sure he's the one who's being taken care of. I catch up with Keith Harris after his way of giving back was stolen. After nearly 20 years of military service, this retired Marine, Keith Harris, is still finding ways to provide service by giving free haircuts to those who need it. We first told you about him 2 months ago because his trailer turned mobile barbershop was stolen. Today, no update on that trailer, but a military organization and a fellow barber are making sure Keith can continue his mission.
When you give someone a haircut, it changes their whole day. You take like 10 years off people, especially if you cut real good.
Look good, feel good. Keith Harris provides veterans like himself, people experiencing homelessness, and children in single-parent homes haircuts at no cost.
I've been in that position before, like coming up and not having enough money to get your hair cut, and trying to figure out who's going to cut your hair.
We spoke to Keith back in August because his trailer that he spent countless hours and thousands of dollars turning into his mobile barbershop was stolen from a storage facility.
my stomach just dropped. I was like, there's no way somebody took this mobile barbershop out of this facility with all the cameras and stuff that's here.
The story of a veteran being stripped of his way of giving back quickly spread.
I learned about the story from your story, so that's how I found out about it. But he was the perfect candidate for who we try to help.
Mike Cameron at Devil's River Whiskey partners with Wish for Our Heroes, a military organization aimed at helping veterans. Together, they invited Keith to a gala.
But I had no clue on what was going on.
That's why they surprised him with a $5,000 check.
That's no chump change, so that's definitely a blessing. When I seen it, I had to look at the number again and make sure it was the right amount. But
wipe your eyes a little bit, make sure that you saw the zeros correctly.
Yeah, I was like, is this right? Like, is this a joker? But
And that's not the only help Keith's received. Fellow barbers are also letting him borrow their mobile shops so he can continue his mission of giving those who need it haircuts.
After all this stuff happening, I just met new people, good people that I would never even met if this didn't happen. So I'm trying to take it as a blessing.
And Keith is still in the process of saving enough money for a new mobile barbershop. But as he said, that $5,000 is a good starting point. He'll also be giving free haircuts at New Baptist Church on October 18th. A barber by the name of Heaven will be letting him use her mobile shop. That's something you always love about South Texas, San Antonio, is the community always finds a way to give back and helps each other out. Mother Nature isn't helping us out too much right now when it comes to the heat.
No, and you're going to want to maybe get a haircut. Maybe if you have long hair, maybe get it thinned out because it's going to be hot, especially with all the hair. The humidity is returning. And sadly, I wish I had better news. We're not seeing much relief in the heat anytime soon. Now, the mornings will still be better. We're still going to be waking up with temperatures in the mid 60s, and that humidity is going to stay low just for a little while, until we're starting to see some more tropical moisture make its way closer to San Antonio. But for the meantime, most of it's going to stay well to the west of us. We're talking El Paso could see some rain, which I know isn't necessarily good news because we still need the rain here in South Texas. We're still in that drought. Now, all that moisture that we've been talking about is from Tropical Storm Raymond. That's just off the coast of Baja California. But for us in San Antonio, the main weather maker is that area of high pressure. It's been bouncing between Mexico and San Antonio and even really Texas over the last 2 weeks. So it's really been allowed for us to stay under that heat high, which normally gives us triple digit heat in the summertime. But for us, it's giving us 10 degrees above average weather. So that's really allowing for us to stay quieter. But all of that moisture can get sucked into areas of El Paso while that low pressure system from the north is trying to push it down, but it's really going to make a little tunnel in between, really focusing on some rain chances. But like I mentioned, that high pressure is not only affecting areas of Texas, but it's really affecting most of the country. What that high pressure system is doing is it's allowing for a little bit of that ridge and that high ridging. And what that means is we're seeing some of that warm air feed into most of the country. So areas like Pierre, South Dakota is about 12 degrees above their average temperature. Even portions of Canada are 15 degrees warmer. Oklahoma City about 13 degrees warmer, than their average temperature. And that's really the story for us in San Antonio. Tomorrow morning, waking up at about 65 degrees, and those clear skies will continue. There might be a little bit of that cloud coverage returning in the afternoon, but we're still going to be just as warm at about 91 degrees, still sitting above average. I know a lot of people want to see some cooler temperatures, but really the only difference between our temperature over the next 7 days is bumping between 90 to even 91 degrees. Now, our morning temperatures are still going to be a little cooler, sitting between about 65 degrees to about 70 degrees. But if you're in the hill country, you might be waking up for some folks in the 50s for some, but it's not everyone. But what we're watching is right between Saturday and Sunday next week. That's October 19th. That's when we have a chance for some cooler air to make its way closer. But take a look at these statistics. Normally, when we see our first cooler morning in areas of San Antonio, it's already around September when we see the 60s and even then further down the line. Now this year, we've been sitting in the 90 to 92 degrees. Last year, and even before then, we've been seeing our temperatures in the 90s and even last year sitting in the 70s. But sadly, like I mentioned, that's not happening anytime soon. Take a look at just the next 3 days. 66 degrees in the mornings, having our peak temperature about 90 to 91, sunny skies for most of us. And then as we look at the extended day forecast, Really, sadly, much of the same. Only difference is some portions of the South Texas can see some humidity returning. Some can see some cloud coverage. So I wish I had better news, but in the extended forecast, like I mentioned, there is a chance for some cooler weather. It's not going to be a lot, but I'll talk about that coming up later on in the Night Beat.
We'll hold on for hope.
Yes.
For the cooler temperatures.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Shelby. Shifting over to football, it seems like just about every Texas school took care of business today, and that includes UT and the Red River rivalry.
And Texas really needed this win, especially after losing to Florida last week. I mean, you can just tell the Longhorns were upset, and they played like it today, and they went up to the Cotton Bowl and got a much-needed victory. And in big game coverage, we have 3 games for you tonight, and we have a sensational touchdown run from a Roosevelt running back coming up. Bowl was jam-packed with crimson on one side and burnt orange on the other side for the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma today. And the first half was a defensive battle. Second quarter, Horns are down 6-0 and knocking on the door. Archie Manning is flushed out of the pocket. He throws and the pass is broken up in the end zone. Texas settled for a field goal and they trailed 6-3. Sooners ball now, 10 seconds to go. QB John Mateer rolls out, throws to the end zone, and the ball is intercepted by Malik Muhammad. OU led 6-3 at halftime. Third quarter, the Horns finally find the end zone, taking the lead for good. Manning back to pass, and he finds a wide-open DeAndre Moore Jr. for a 12-yard touchdown pass. And UT takes the lead 10-6, too easy, and just what Manning needed to feel better about himself. And JP, something tells me these Texas guys are having a good time tonight. Early fourth quarter, the Horns put this game on ice. The Sooners punt the ball to Ryan Niblett, who fields it at the 25, and he just works his way right down the sideline for a 75-yard punt return, even bouncing off of one of his guys on his way to the house to make the score 20-6 Texas. And Texas upsets number 6 Oklahoma 23-6 to retain the Golden Hat. The Horns getting a much-needed win, improving to 4-2 overall, 1-1 in conference. KSAT 12 Sports' Mary Rominger will have more later in the show. Here's more finals from today. Number 5 Texas A&M beat Florida 34-17, improving to 6-0 for the first time since 2016. Houston topped Oklahoma State 39-17. Kansas State beat TCU 41-28. Number 9 Texas Tech hammered Kansas 42-17. UTSA beat up Rice at the Dome 61-13. Racking up 437 yards of total offense. Barry handed Trinity its first loss of the season, 29-6. Troy won a thriller at Texas State, 48-41 in overtime. And Texas Lutheran went on the road and they won at Centenary College, 55-27. Fans at the Gus were using umbrellas today to shade themselves from the sun. The Marshall Rams and the Brenner Bears kicked off at 2 this afternoon. Second quarter, Bears ball. Quarterback Caden Glass tucks and runs, and he weaves his way in for a 13-yard touchdown. The Bears lead 21-0. Brennan got the ball after recovering a fumbled punt by Marshall, and they took advantage, and the Bears win in a shutout 66-0. Let's head over to Comalander Stadium, where the Churchill cheerleaders were happy to see us today. The Chargers and Brandeis Broncos with a 2 p.m. start as well. Second quarter, Broncos ball, direct snap goes to Jaron Morris, and he fights his way into the end zone for a 3-yard score, and the Broncos take the lead 21-14. Later on, Brandeis ball again. Quarterback Winter Smith throws, and it's intercepted by the Chargers' Elliott Watts to end that scoring threat. But Brandeis takes it 42-31. And we end at Heroes Stadium for another 2 p.m. kick. The Roosevelt Rough Riders are playing the Lee Volunteers. Third quarter action. Lee quarterback Zachary Talamontes gets a little help from his friends on the QB sneak. Tush push, touchdown falls, and they're down 37-7. The Rough Riders come back behind junior running back Ernest Smith. He gets the ball, and check it out, hurdles a defender. Then he breaks out of a tackle and a couple of other defenders for an amazing 30-yard touchdown run. One of the best I've seen this season. And Roosevelt wins by a final of 44-7.
Just being back on the floor with them guys, just getting the chemistry going before the season actually starts. It just felt good to play again. Just getting up and down, just trying to get a feel back for the game.
Rookie Dylan Harper scored 9 points in his preseason debut last night. He's coming back from a thumb surgery. And check it out, he played alley-oop with Wemby, who had 22 points and 7 boards. The Spurs beat the Jazz 134-130 in overtime, improving to 3-0 in the preseason. And you know what? Coming up later in sports, I showed you the scores, but we're going to have UTSA and Rice and Texas A&M versus Florida.
UTSA, a much-needed win for them tonight.
Indeed.
Also, that Spurs game, I was there last night. Preseason game had regular season or even post-game intensity, as you mentioned, going into OT.
Yeah, that was one heck of a game, I'll tell you.
It was great to be at. Thanks for that, Larry.
You got it.
All right, still ahead, Selena's fashion designer, Martin Gomez, walks us through his story and why he decides to share the singer's iconic wardrobe with Texas State. And it's a type of breast cancer that's on the rise in the U.S., and it lacks research. Coming up, we speak to a researcher with American Cancer Society about lobular breast cancer. A Texas nonprofit is celebrating 40 years of building and donating more than 30,000 wheelchair ramps for families in need across the state. Devin Karp went out onto the east side to see that process in action and found out how big of a difference it makes.
When they came to do the measurements, oh my God, I was just in tears because they came and helped something that I couldn't do. And that's what I'm so appreciative with them. And right now, I'm so grateful.
90-year-old Pedro Garcia has been a wonderful father to 4 children. And ever since his cancer diagnosis, even getting out of the house is an uphill battle.
He would get from this step right here to try to get him down, to get into my car. And just that little bit, he was having trouble breathing. So even going into, I would have to get a wheelchair from the doctor's office to help him out.
But now, after reaching out to a local nonprofit, their luck is ramping up.
You have to meet certain standards with all this, but every ramp is different, right?
Right. Every ramp's different based on the height, so.
The Texas Ramp Project brings volunteers like these from WellMed together to make home ramps for free. And this isn't even the only one they're building right now.
There's 3 other builds going on in Bexar County today. So we have about a dozen team leaders, and we're all volunteers. So we build. We're going to build about 200 ramps this year with the workforce we have.
Wow. How is the ramp going to make y'all and his life easier?
A lot. I mean, we can now take him down the ramp. I can take him. I mean, just take him to the car, to my car, put him in there, and put him out.
The Garcias want to pay it forward and volunteer to build more ramps for others in the future. Because for this family, mobility means freedom and the chance to act like a kid again.
He's already wanted to go to the beach. We haven't taken him to the beach. I don't even know when was the last time. So he goes, now can I go fishing? I mean, he wants to do little things like that.
Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Buy that man some bait and get him to the water. If you want to volunteer with the Texas Ramp Project or know someone who needs accommodations, scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our article on KSAT.com and we'll get the help or get you in touch with the help that you can also help them out with that organization. An appeals court ruled today the Texas National Guard troops cannot be deployed. Around 500 Guard members from Texas and Illinois were sent to a U.S. Army Reserve Center in the state. President Trump has been pushing to send the Guards to several U.S. cities, claiming that the crime is up and rampant. The troops that have been sent to that area can stay in Illinois, but cannot be deployed to protect federal property or go on patrol. At least that's for now. Selena Quintanilla's fashion designer Martin Gomez has shared personal pieces of clothing, sketches, and even his diary to remember Selena's story. As we continue celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, we highlight the latest addition to the Whitliff collection at Texas State. KSAT's Madeline Lambert takes us through the collection with Gomez himself.
It was considered a very new fabric at the time. It was a stretch metallic cloth. It was glazed.
When it came to fashion, Martin Gomez and Selena Quintanilla were a team.
But a lot of these ideas, it was sometimes started with an idea she had, and then I would basically execute it. And so that's why I released all this stuff, because I want people to know that she was smart. She was so smart, and she had the vision.
The Whitliff Collections at Texas State now holds many personal items from Martin and Selena's fashion collection.
Even the exact beads that are showcased here were used by Martin Gomez to design Selena's many iconic outfits.
This is the other side of Selena, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm actually really proud of sharing it because I almost didn't.
And something you said earlier that stuck with me is that Selena said the impossible is possible.
Yeah, I lived it. Yeah, it gets me really emotional because Selena saw me. She believed in me before anybody else did.
The exhibit was brought to life with the help of Hector Saldana. He collaborated with Martin after he saw students interested in learning more about the famous artist.
I mean, here are these young people in college, born long after the Jennifer Lopez movie about Selena. So there has to be something that goes beyond Tejano music.
That's what Hector describes as a Selena effect. Her legacy and memory still inspiring new generations.
The effect that it has on young people is beyond.
Madeline Lambert, KSAT 12 News.
It's the second most common type of breast cancer, and there's still so much research left to be done on it. Coming up, our Daphne Gray has what you need to know. And still ahead on the Nightbeat, an event created by a group of moms who lost their children to fentanyl. Find out how you can participate in their cause. Welcome back. According to the American Cancer Society, about 33,600 women in the U.S. will be diagnosed with lobular breast cancer just this year, and there's still a lot of researchers don't know about it. Daphne Gray explains why this type of breast cancer presents itself differently.
It's a lesser-known breast cancer that develops in a patient's milk-producing glands, and cases of lobular breast cancer are on the rise in the U.S.
Most people aren't familiar with this subtype, and I think it's because the short-term prognosis is very good.
But Rebecca Siegel with the American Cancer Society says if there's a delayed detection of this type of breast cancer, long-term prognosis for advanced disease is not good. She's the senior author of a report that found there is a critical need for more research into the specific disease.
We need to distinguish this cancer in clinical trials so that we can find more effective treatments, because incidence rates are actually increasing quite steeply, more steeply than for other types of breast cancer.
Because tumors in those with lobular breast cancer grow in a linear pattern or maybe spread out, Siegel says that they don't form a lump like other breast cancers and can be harder to detect during a mammogram. So she says women need to watch out for other signs, including nipple inversion, hardening of the breast skin, or dimpling of that skin. If these symptoms are consistent over a week or two, she says, go see a doctor.
Adjuvant chemotherapy doesn't really work. So we need to distinguish this cancer in clinical trials so that we can find more effective treatment.
Daphne Gray, KSAT 12 News.
Researchers say the risk for all types of breast cancer can be reduced through healthy lifestyle choices. That list includes maintaining a healthy weight, staying physically active, and if you do choose to consume alcohol, having it in moderation. Hey, taking a look at live cam, we are under 80, we're at 78, and it's 11 o'clock at night. The heat is the story, but hopeful hope is on the way.
At least a little bit, JP. I mean, it's October. Everyone wants to really see and feel the fall. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's a few things we're watching. There was that low pressure system just off the coast of California that seemed like it would bring some sort of cooler air. Well, it will eventually move to the north, and as it does, it could bring a weak cool front or a frontal system associated with this. What we're talking about is this is going to be after October 19th, even getting into the later portion of the month. Now, with this potential cold front, we're talking about temperatures in the 50s and 70s, but this is still a week to 2 weeks out, so things can change ever so slightly, but we just wanted to give you that heads up that we're watching for something to potentially happen. But not only that, we're watching for some drier conditions in the week ahead. I'll break down what you need to know and how that pertains to you coming up after the break.
Your time, 11:14 this evening. Thanks for staying up with us after that late game on ABC. The heat is really the story that we've been tracking, like you said, for weeks because it's October 11th, and we're still dealing with it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had that heat high sitting over us for what feels like maybe 3 weeks now, but realistically about a week and a half. And because that heat high's been sitting over us, it's been giving us some drier conditions, and that does pose a risk, especially because we're still in that drought. Now, this does not mean everyone is going to have that chance for some fire danger, but we've had little to no rain at all, so we've been able to quickly dry out for most of us across South Texas. And when you get those warm and dry conditions, it could cause that risk for some fire danger, especially with winds gusting up to about 20-25 miles an hour, which is possible as we go throughout the next few days, especially because there's no relief in sight. We are going to continue to see the chances of the fire danger to worsen for some, but not necessarily for others, which is why I want to bring it to your attention that there is still that chance and there is that small threat, especially because there are multiple burn bans, not only in Bexar County and across South Central Texas, going all the way to Cotulla, but also across the state, down to Brownsville, up past Amarillo and the Panhandle. El Paso even has some burn bans because we're still in that drought. 23% of the state of Texas is considered to be in a drought. But like I mentioned, tomorrow there's still a very small chance of some sort of fire danger. Now, there is still that moderate category for Bexar County, but where you see those yellow colors, especially just down south towards that I-35 corridor or even closer to Houston, that's that high category because we're going to see those winds a little on the stronger side. These are areas that are already dry. And even then, if you take a look at the rainfall totals for the last month, where you see kind of that parallelogram going up past Austin, past Gillespie County, Ozona, even down to Pleasanton, that almost parallelogram color, that's where we've seen little to no rain. I mean, in the San Antonio city limits, we've seen about 15/10 of an inch of rain. Carrizo Springs seen just over half an inch. Austin was lucky enough to see an inch, but where you go towards Laredo, they've seen 4 inches. Near the coastal plains, Corpus Christi, they saw 3 inches, but where you see those purple colors, that's where you get 5, 6, even 7 inches of rain. But really, where we need the rain the most, we haven't gotten any. This is a look at the rainfall totals over the next 7 days. Like we've been mentioning, there is that chance of some sort of tropical moisture. And in San Antonio, there's really none. But if I take a little query and I go down towards Corpus Christi, any rain totals, 0.06 of an inch near Fort Stockton, a little bit of hope about 1/4 of an inch, but most of the rain is going to be near El Paso or even in Mexico because of that tropical moisture with Tropical Storm Raymond. But really in San Antonio and most of the country, even in the southeast, I should say, we're still seeing that high pressure system sit over us. So we're going to stay dry over the next 7 days, which isn't really good. We're still in that drought. Even as we take a look at the 7-day forecast over the next few days, temperatures between 65 to 66 degrees, afternoon 90 to 91. The conditions still will be a little humid for some, but most of us will continue to see those pleasant conditions. It is still going to be a beautiful afternoon, just some slightly breezy winds for some, and really the forecast is the same. Rinse and repeat over the next 7 days. We're still watching that chance for some sort of cooler temperatures possible over the next 2 weeks. Just be cautious as we're going throughout the next few days. It's going to be a little drier for some folks, so although it's going to be gorgeous, just keep in mind we do still have a few burn bans in effect.
And 90s throughout the week as we enter mid-October.
Summer wants to stick around.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Shelby. We know you're not the one telling us or telling the weather to be that high.
Exactly.
You're just giving us the news.
Yes.
Appreciate that. If you were at the Alamo Dome tonight, the Roadrunners really ran up the score on Rice.
On social media, I saw a handful of UTSA football fans say, finally, a game where we're not sitting here stressed out about it because it was just a blowout. UTSA dominated the Rice Owls at the Alamo Dome tonight. Plus, Texas A&M, ranked 5th in the country, faced the recently improved Gators, but it didn't matter. The Aggies walk away with the dub. We got it coming up. UTSA Roadrunners used a special helmet tonight with San Antonio on one side, and they dominated the Rice Owls in those lids. First quarter, QB Owen McCown rolls to his left, and he hooks up with Devin McCune for a 2-yard touchdown. And UTSA leads at 14-3. Later on, same score, play action. Owen, well, he's going to roll out again, and this time he finds a wide open A.J. Wilson, 20 yards, and UTSA is rolling 21-3. And they win at 61-13, setting a new record for points in a single game, and they also had 2 defensive touchdowns. Texas A&M and Florida, they went back and forth in the first quarter of Kyle Field, and the Aggies slowly pulled away. Aggies down 7 when quarterback Marcel Reed will call his own number. He runs an untouched 8 yards, and this game is tied at 7-all. It's now tied at 14 in the second quarter when the Aggies take the lead for good. Le'Veon Moss chomps right through the Gators defense, 22 yards to the end zone, and the Aggies lead 21-14. They win at 34-17, improving to 6-0 overall, 3-0 in the SEC. The Texas Longhorns dominated Oklahoma Sooners in the second half, outscoring them 20-0 to win the Red River rivalry 23-6 and retain the Golden Hat. Head coach Steve Sarkisian said they'd play better today, and they sure did. KSAT 12 Sports' Mary Rominger is at the Cotton Bowl, and she has more.
So much is made about Arch. It's like when we don't win, it's his fault. But when we do win, everybody praise Arch. We're the team.
That's the reality for Texas, home to one of the most talked about college athletes in the country. Now, the Red River rivalry was a defensive battle, at least in the first half. Then in the second half, the time that UT's defense gave the offense to settle in allowed Arch and the rest of the team to take off.
We knew we had to run the ball against this group. If we would have dropped back and kept throwing the ball, they were going to rush the passer. We needed to make them defend the run.
The more fatigued I got, the more energized I got, if that makes sense. So the more carries I was getting, the more banged up I was getting. I look at my teammates and I knew they needed me, and they knew I needed them. So they kind of just fueled me to give more.
Being able to stay out of third and 11 plus and getting more reasonable third downs, and the O-line did a hell of a job, and playmakers made plays.
Well, now that Texas has dismantled their rival number 6 Oklahoma, it'll be interesting to see where they fall in the AP Top 25 after being ranked number 9 last week to being unranked entering this week. That's it from me at the Cotton Bowl. Mary Rominger, KSAT 12 Sports. Larry, back to you.
Thank you, Mary. And Alyssa Smith was celebrating big time last night after she helped the Las Vegas Aces win the 2025 WNBA Finals. The Aces won Game 4 97-86 to sweep the Phoenix Mercury 4-0. Smith scored 5 points in the series clincher. Head coach Becky Hammon and the Aces have won 3 of the last 4 WNBA titles. And Alyssa is now an NCAA champion, winning it with Baylor years ago, and now she's a WNBA champion, which is pretty cool. Aces center Asia Wilson was named Finals MVP. And in the NLDS, the Brewers beat the Cubs tonight 3-1 to win that series and advance to the NLCS to play the LA Dodgers. Seattle and Toronto will face off in the ALCS. The winners will advance to the World Series.
World Series. Astros didn't even make the playoffs.
No.
Rats. Going back to the Cotton Bowl, UT and OU. KSAT's Instagram, or sports Instagram, has a picture of Glenn Powell, a steamy picture of Glenn Powell in a tank top. I just want to know who is fangirling more, Mary Rominger or photojournalist Adam Higgins?
I don't know. You called him. You said steamy right now, though. So maybe you're fangirling over him a little bit.
When a guy's a good-looking guy.
Absolutely, he is a good-looking guy.
Not too bad yourself.
Yeah. So, but Mary, I'm sure, very happy.
We'll be right back. And tomorrow is the 3rd annual Souls Walking for Souls Fentanyl Awareness Walk. It's organized by Angel Moms, mothers who've lost their children to fentanyl. It's from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Green Line at Brook City Base. The event includes a 1-mile walk, a resource fair, and community connection. And to make things that much better, our own Courtney Friedman will be the MC.
I know she's excited about that, and she's been wondering what the temperature is going to be like. Well, if you are going out and about tomorrow, it is still going to be warm. Temperatures for your peak temperature about 91 degrees in the city. A little cooler in the hill country, so yes, it still will be sunny. So wear sunscreen, drink plenty of water. And if you're hoping for rain, well, we're not expecting any sort of rain chances over the next 7 days. Sorry to burst your bubbles. I know we all want to see some sort of rain. The only difference in the forecast, I know I've said it, but it's really just some cloud coverage, some humidity, maybe a few degrees warmer or cooler for the forecast. But there is still hope for some sort of cooler weather. It is still early October, I'll say. So we do still have that chance to get that good old-fashioned October cold front.
I just want a light jacket. I don't want to sweat when I walk outside in the afternoon.
Well, you can still drink pumpkin spice when you go.
Pumpkin spice in AC.
Maybe get it iced.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Thanks for joining us, guys.